Oxford and Eton produce wonkers melody.
Right, you are Yank. But I'm not your lady. I'm Hamish Charles Watson of Abel Danger, and I know from your coded comment you must be the American pilot whose mobile number was in Chip's wallet when it washed up on the River Thames, after he exposed the Crown agents and his own sister as the two prospective co-defendants with Canada's Harper regarding the cowardly attack on America. I believe your name is Bob Hoover?
Listen, my lady, if you are going to dress like the Queen, at least you could shave. Let's go someplace private and talk, capiche? I want to contact you, Agent Nano L. Humana, regarding the three-way goat rope off San Clemente Island on 8 November after Agent Chips revealed the mission to Department of Justice, FBI and the useless Union Airline Pilots Association and its cowardly lying John Porker.
Let's not lower ourselves to their level with ad hominem attacks, and it is Prater not Porker.
Porker, Dorker, Prater, Crater, what's in a name? He is an empty suit and the unions are all sold out. Just consider what is going on at Government Motors as they limit the IPO to the big boys and lock all of us private investors out. They did this with the railroad, the airlines, and now the automobile industry. But I digress. I need to talk to you, Agent Nano, and figure out how the three-way dick dance-off fella last week played out, and Nano would have the trajectory analysis I need. It seems that a Canadian sub may have launched a warning shot from one of those old rust buckets they bought from England, and a Chinese sub, using information given them in 1995 by Clinton and Shavlaskavili, must have misinterpreted it as an attack on their position, so the Chinese defended with an imp dose that took out the carnal pleasure or whatever the cruise was, while the US military appears to have tried taking down the Canadian missile so as not be appear as the launchers, and yet the intercept missile did what the name suggested would. Miss. Now I know you are worried about Agent Chips, who went missing after mouthing off regarding the missile episode, but that is his problem. I need to solve the triangulation of the missile trajectories, and I know that Dr. Nano has friends in the science world and the company exists, so I need you to help me find him.
Fair enough, Mr. Six.
Just call me Bob Milady.
Okay, Bob Milady, I will put you in touch with Nano. If you can tell me what Chips told you in the last phone contact, a fair trade of intel.
Millery, it's Bob, not Bob my lady, or Bob up and kiss my ass, just Bob. I spoke to Chips 3 times in last 24 hours. I warned him the unions were going to default on pension obligations as the AIG bailout in favor of the Congress and Senate consumed all the pension funds. Chips was despondent, and I think he'd had too much to drink. He kept repeating rhododendron over and over. I couldn't make sense of his slurred speech or the rhododendron angle.
Well, I think I can shed some light on this. If you can help me adjust my girdle. It seems I have my panties in a bunch, not to be confused with Chips, who has been in a bunch of panties. You see, Chips had a far-flung affair with a wee lass from Scotland, where the McConnell name is in high regard. While Chips was flying F-4Ds at Iceland in 1984, he met a 25-year-old Navy nurse with a body to die for, meaning if Chips were to have her, the nurse's husband would have killed him. However, years later, Chips bumped into her at the Gough Manor House in Crawley, England, and a long simmering ember turned into a roaring fire as the young Fanny galore and Chips would engage in endurance whenever his airline job took him to London Gatwick.
What in the world does all this have to do with rhododendron, Professor?
Well, Chips wasn't good with names, but he was very good with dames, and on the night they had shared their first intero in the Aurora International Hotel near Sclumber House in Crawley, Fanny galore had worn a pastel April rose thong which Chips draped over the lampshade. Chips, ever the gentleman, knew the proper name for that color was rhododendron, so from that point on Fanny galore was either pastel April rose, or in case of dangerous mission, pastel Scottish heather. Her favored position was the bicycle butt.
And if already regarding ladies' underwear and sexual preferences it is starting to sound like you are describing a member of Congress or Senate, how about the contact information for Dr. Nano L. Humana, Professor? And what's with the cheesy accent?
Yes, quite right. Nano is at 1-800-555-1212 and press numero uno for Espinal. However, I can share this as both Nano and I are PhD bright guys. Nano has been told that the missile shot was staged by Department of Defense to have an intentional miss of the Star Wars machine, so that President Obama would realize that 2 things had changed since he went over to India to sell $20 billion worth of military hardware to the Indians. 1. The JCS had revoked his football and codes, and JCS and the Pentagon were running the country. More subliminally, they made it appear to Kid Kenya that the most powerful military in the world could not shoot down an incoming ICBM. It is thought that this was to coincide with Agent Chips telling him to be out of office by the 31st of December or else. Any other questions, milady Bob? Only one, you cheesy wanker. When or if Chips comes up for air, ask him if Agent Fanny Galore has a sister. I have Googled her relationship to Pussy Galore and James Bond, but I think a sister might be more in keeping with my sexual preference. And your preference?
Screwing those trying to screw America. From where I sit, it looks like Abel Danger against City of London and Senior Executive Service, and I am putting my money on Agent Chips and Abel Danger. Capiche?